We're still in the thick of summer, but schools across the country are making big decisions about how to resume classes in the fall. Hi, I'm Veronica Rickert, and this is Badger Talks. Today we're talking with Malia Jones, an associate scientist at the Applied Population Laboratory in the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences at UW-Madison. Hi, Malia, thanks for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I want to just go to that big question. Malia, based on what we know, should schools reopen for in-person classes in the fall?
Well, this is a really complicated question, as I think we have seen recently in the news cycle in particular. Considering whether schools should reopen in the fall has to be a decision that's based on what's happening in the local area and what's possible in terms of disease mitigation and also keeping families and students safe. The American Academy of Pediatrics and other major organizations have said that it's really important for schools to reopen in order to keep kids safe. And we also have to balance that with how to keep teachers safe and the families of students safe.
There are a lot of factors that go into this decision-making process. Can you lay out some of the considerations that schools are looking at right now?
Yeah, I think it's important and helpful to think about what our goals are for a safe reopening of schools in the fall. And from my perspective, those goals are to keep staff and students' families, as well as our communities at large, safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition to educating kids and keeping kids and families safe from social harms. The American Academy of Pediatrics and others have said that it's important for kids to be in school because many kids are not safe when they're not in school. Some kids don't have enough to eat and don't have safe places to go. And in addition to that, when kids are at home, parents also have to be at home. And that means that there are serious economic drawbacks. So in terms of thinking about how to reopen schools safely, we need to think about some modifications to how we normally operate schools that will allow kids to be there in person to the extent that they possibly can, and also avoid disease transmission risk. And that means mitigation strategies or infection control strategies like having kids wear masks, hygiene practices like teaching kids what COVID-19 is and how it's transmitted, making adjustments to the school schedule and the way school operates to prevent, to make class sizes smaller, for example, and also consideration of community control strategies like having robust testing and keeping non-essential activities closed.
It's complicated. So how do we prioritize what is most important out of that giant heap of considerations that we just looked at?
Yeah, so I think this is the real challenge. Figuring out what's most important is almost impossible because we have so many stakeholders and there are so many competing risks here. So to me, it's helpful in terms of priority to consider the things that are really not essential and the things that really are essential. And it is definitely essential to keep those non-essential businesses closed and have robust community control of transmission. And so that will reduce the amount of disease that's circulating in the community, which then reduces the chances that anyone is sick while they are in school. And so to me, that's the highest priority. And then in terms of planning how to reopen school safely, those mitigation strategies that I talked about, like wearing masks, reducing other transmission risks, are really important.
Okay, so given the complexity of this, and we've just sort of touched on this in our last moments here, are there any really quick boiled down guidelines that you could share with schools who are looking for some advice right now?
Yeah, I think that schools, it has to be a decision based on what's possible within the school and within the district. And the things to consider are those infection control strategies that I mentioned, as well as flexibility. We are going to be dealing with uncertainty for a while. This pandemic is not going to resolve itself anytime real soon. And so schools need to be able to have contingency plans and have some flexibility. And then the other thing I think is really important is transparency. Schools should be communicating frequently and as transparently as they can with both their staff and their families.
Malia, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all that today.
Thanks for having me on.
For more information, you can go to covid19.impact.wisc.edu, or you can email us your ideas and suggestions to covid19update@uc.wisc.edu. This is Badger Talks.